For 20 plus years, I have loved kids unconditionally in public education. Spanish teacher, assistant principal, currently recovering high school principal, still have a heart for all kids. I have two fundamental beliefs, and this should be what we focus on in education: relationships and hope. Too often in our system, we're not talking about that. That sounds like too touchy-feely. We want to talk about test scores and college admissions and raising the bar and expectations, but we don't want to talk as adults about hope and relationships. Well, I'm here today to make adults feel uncomfortable because I want to talk about hope. And I'd like to do it through a case of one. Years ago, when I was an administrative intern, which means do everything, I was running around with my list of all the students that the system told me I needed to go talk to. These were systems that were on the discipline list, students that were on the discipline list, students that were on the attendance list, truancy list, tardy list. My job every day was to go run around and assign them more time after school, because that's what the system said for me to do. Well, there was one boy in particular I could never catch. Imagine that. He was on the list. Well, one day I caught him. And I go into class and I ask him to come out in the hallway, and this, mind you, was 20 years ago. And I remember it crystal clear. We step into the hallway, and I said, "Hey, how are you?" And we start this conversation, and he jumps right to the consequence. He says, "Oh, you got me. You're here to assign me some more hours after school?" I'm like, "Whoa, dude, no. I just want to talk to you." He said, "Well, I know that you're here, and you're supposed to assign me time after school." And I said, "No, I just want to talk to you." He said, "Why are you missing so much school?" And he froze in that moment, and he said, "Well, I miss so much school because my mom works, and every morning I get my two baby sisters up for school, and I take them to school, and if either one of them is sick, then I'm home with one of my sisters during the day." He said, "Now give me my time." And I looked at him, looked at this stack of referrals, and I just ripped them up. And I threw them all away. And this is where the relationship happened. Because he just stopped and he goes, "You know what?" Sorry, this clicker. He says, "You're the first adult to ever stop and ask why." This is a junior in a comprehensive high school, and I'm the first adult to stop and ask him why. I walked away from that experience, and it was life-changing for me. And I thought, how could our system not have anybody speaking hope into this young man? How could our system not have things in place to catch this? How could a comprehensive high school full of caring, loving adults not have one assigned to this young man? How is it that he has traveled this far without somebody speaking hope? For me, hope is an opportunity to interact with people every day, every moment. Every opportunity is an opportunity to speak hope into somebody's life. Kids, adults, I don't care. And those opportunities matter. So what I want you to do for a second is, and I have people do this all the time, is think of your life as a timeline, when you were born to now. And think back in your own life right now, when is a moment when somebody spoke hope into your life? Can you picture that person? Can you picture the role they had and what they said, the words specifically that spoke hope into your life? And as you walk through your life and your journey, can you think of several opportunities, several people, several adults that spoke hope into your life? When you think about that journey, are you thinking about the systems that might have prevented you, or are you thinking about the human relationship that you had that got you where you are today? I'm standing here today because people spoke hope into my life. My 4th grade teacher, my 6th grade soccer coach, my 9th grade math teacher, who was the first teacher who taught Scott he could do math. My Spanish teacher, who said to me one day, "Scott," Raul was my name in Spanish class, One day you're going to make a great Spanish teacher. And one day I became a Spanish teacher because of Señor Cool. And that was his real name. So when you think about your own timeline, how many marks do you see up there? Do you have lots? Do many people speak into your life? The scary part for me is I was lucky. I was fortunate. I had lots of people surrounding and rallying around this lost student to try and get me back on the path. What scares me, though, or what about those people who don't have that? Can you think of students in your life whose timeline starts to look like this? So what's your system doing right now to capture kids, to speak hope into kids? It's kind of sad if you think about it, that many of our students' journey through our K-12 system could look like this, or with no markers at all. Each one of those markers is a case of one, an opportunity where an adult took time to speak hope into the life of a student, or vice versa, where a student spoke hope into the life of an adult. Fast forward time. I'm now a high school principal. Crazy to think of, me in charge of students in a whole school. I've got a student in my office one day, and he was a student that I met with almost daily. He would blow out of classes, had anger problems, was kind of outcast, walked around with his hood over his head, would get into altercations with students, and he found sanctuary in my office. We had a relationship. We would talk, and one day he's in there and he's just at his wit's end. And he's sitting in his normal chair, and I in mine, and he's got his hood over his head, and he's got his head buried down in his arms, and we're just talking, small talk, relationship talk. And I said to him, dude, you're going to be okay. One day, you'll be out of here and you'll be away from these people that spark you, that trigger you, and you're going to go on in life and do amazing things. In fact, one day, you're going to go on to a college and you're going to have an incredible career, and you'll look back and smile at this. This was the voice of a principal. I was just talking. I was doing my normal talk with kids. His head popped right up. And I'll never forget this moment either. But he stopped and he looked at me, and the hood came off, and these were his words. Again, no one has ever told me I could go to college. For me, this was a slap in the face, because I'm now the principal of this school that this student was a junior in, to where he's telling me not a single adult has had a relationship with him through the system, to where no adult has said to him, you can go to college. This launched a new campaign, a new energy for me to start speaking hope, to start talking about relationships as the foundation of what we do. So how do we do it? How do we create systems of hope for all kids? Relationships. Let's blow up the system. Let's stop putting so much pressure on the system and kids, and let's take all the furniture out and put it back in and build it around time for adults with kids. Because all the research proves that that's all it takes, is positive relationships with adults. So adults can help kids see themselves in the future. How else do we do it? We speak hope. You're here today because you want to speak hope. You're going to walk out of here today, and I hope you have the courage to speak hope. I hope you have the courage to make other adults uncomfortable about this notion of hope as the driver of our school. How do we do it? We lead hope. Go back and change your systems. Make all of your decisions based around the notion of hope as the reality for your school, or your system, or your agency, or your business, because hope works for all of us. Speak hope, lead hope, and pretty soon, you have a culture of hope. My belief is this, and it's pretty simple. Culture sets the foundation. So think about your culture. What is your culture built upon? Is it built upon test scores, achievement, adult comfort, adult-centered systems? Systems support the culture. That very first student of mine 20 years ago told me that the system was killing his hope. So are we adults listening to the kids talk about our systems barriers that we have in place and have had in place for decades? Learning shows the belief. When we see other adults talking about hope, then that means you speaking hope and you leading hope is working, because adults are changing what they're doing. The learning is focused on us adults and less on the kids. And then hope is the result. I've seen it work. And you're here today because you're part of a giant movement about this notion that hope can change the world. Hope can change systems that have been broken forever. But it takes courage. It takes the courage for all of you to turn around and go back out into your old systems and say, you know what? Let's rebuild this. Let's build this around hope. Let's redefine our culture. Let's identify the systems that are bad, historically bad, and inequitable for kids. And let's create a brand new reality for the students in our system. This is a little tiny diploma, and it's no bigger than a business card. But when I was principal at Tumwater High School in Olympia, Washington, Tumwater, Washington, every year I would give these little tiny diplomas. I would make them all, cut them all, and I would give them all to my current 8th graders that were coming in as 9th graders. And I'd hand them all these cards one by one and say, you give this back to me in 4 years when you graduate with a beautiful plan for life after high school. And then 4 years would go on, and I'd wait until they graduate, and they'd come across the stage, and they'd hand me their little cards and say, I did it. Well, about a month ago, I was at an event, and when the event ended, I was talking with some people, and I could tell that there was a young woman standing by me waiting to speak to me. I finished my conversation. She came up, and she said, hi, I've been waiting for you to finish. Can I have a moment of your time? And I said, sure. She says, you don't remember me, but I was a 9th grader when you were principal of our high school. I graduated 2 years ago, and I've been looking for you ever since. And she pulled out a little green card and said, I did it. You gave me the hope. So my dream is that this isn't about what we did at our school, but wouldn't it be great if every high school in the country had a system like this, where we all said, you have a bright future. And we gave them this symbol that served as a reminder in their bed, on their nightstand or on their refrigerator or on their binder. Wouldn't it be great if this was the system that we built for kids? Not the system that says your test scores aren't high enough, you're not going to get into this college. This is my dream, that we create symbols of hope that drive our system. And this is her card because I've kept it. I'm a big believer that leadership is the opportunity to leave a forever impact. I say it all the time, and I will say it until I'm blue in the face. You have an opportunity to leave an impact everywhere you go with every human being that you interact with. The choice is yours. You can use that opportunity to speak hope, especially if they're grumpy, or it's an opportunity missed. What will be your impact? Will you be a case of one? And my guess is that you already are. You're that marker on somebody's timeline because you've spoken hope into somebody. I challenge you to go contact one of the people who spoke hope into your life and thank them for who you are today and where you are today, because they spoke to you. I challenge you. Thank you for leading hope.